Hello and howdy, One Life Midwest, Jason Kyle coming right at you like I always do. Today I got a little video I'm going to call it the Supp Buster. The Supp Buster. Now we all know Scott Shaddy has made tons and tons of money by selling Medicare supplements. So, not saying don't sell Medicare supplements, I just want to come out saying Medicare supplements are great. If you've seen one of the previous videos, like I always say, if people ask me what's the best type of health insurance there is, it's a Medicare supplement. But unfortunately, a lot of people can't pay for Medicare supplements. And a lot of people have Medicare supplements that they can't afford to pay for on a regular basis. Also, right now, as we know, is AEP. So a lot of times when you're seeing a client, this is the only time that they have the option to check out a Medicare Advantage plan. And so this is a great way for you to give them that Medicare Advantage plan with also a hospital indemnity plan. Okay, that's what the Supp Buster is. It's a Medicare plus hospital indemnity compared to having a regular supplement. Okay, so there's two major times that these clients are going to have this option. Now, obviously, for you to do this successfully, you're going to have to do your Medicare Advantage training with your boy Matthew Hudson. He's obviously the master at that. Or obviously, I know how to do them as well. I can help you out with that as well if you're here in Kentucky. But you will need to have to give them a Medicare Advantage plan. And then you're going to basically also give them a hospital indemnity plan. So some of the previous videos that we've gone over show you how to give somebody just only a hospital indemnity plan when they already have a Medicare Advantage plan. This is going to be someone who has a supplement, and you're going to give them a hospital indemnity plan and a Medicare Advantage plan, or it's a T65. So someone when they first turn 65, they have basically a couple options. They can go down the road. They can either get a Medicare supplement and a PDP, because they're up to 3 cards, right? A and B, Medicare supplement plus their PDP, or they're going to have their Medicare Advantage plan plus their A and B, plus their hospital indemnity plan. So basically the same presentation, whether you have someone that's already in a supplement, or if they're just now deciding what they're going to do for their Medicare, you're just gonna kind of do this the same, go over the same stuff, okay? So, like you always have, I always use a T-chart when I'm explaining this to them, and I'm pretty much just gonna compare the two different things to them. So, again, depending on if they already have a Medicare supplement or if they're turning 65 for the first time, you're gonna kind of go over the same thing. And one last thing I wanna go over before I kind of get into what you're gonna say to the client is talking about how important your T65s are. This is fresh, hot, oh, there's my pen. This is fresh, hot money, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of the best sales that we can give a client. This is basically a 3 times money sale, okay? You're gonna get your commission for your Medicare Advantage plan, which usually is about $220, plus you're gonna get double commission, okay? They give you double commission. If it's the first time someone's enrolled into a Medicare Advantage plan, you get ×2 commission, okay? So you're gonna get another $220 all up front, plus, let's say they just turned 65 in November next month. You're gonna get all this money, and then still your renewals are gonna start January 1. Okay? So it doesn't matter what time of year you sold them, you're gonna get your whole $440, depending on the carrier and your contract. It could be different, but that's kind of the main one you're gonna see, starting on January 1st. So I guess you enrolled somebody that started last month, they gave me the whole $440, I get my renewal starting in January, right off the bat. And then you're also gonna get your commissions for the hip sale, which is about $65 a month. You're looking at another maybe $180-ish on top of that. Plus you're gonna get renewals on that too. Medicare hip plans have amazing renewals. So you're gonna be making 2, 4, 6, 8, you're gonna be making almost $600, right? What is that, almost $700 right away. Plus you're gonna get the renewals on both those. So that's really the fresh, hot money right here. And the best way to get T65s is your almighty book of business. Again, just use Excel. It's super, super easy, and you can put in, and if you have all your people in your book of business in Excel, you can just see what people's birthdays are coming up. I got a great piece of advice from Matthew Hudson, the MA Master, and he says, Jason, if they're 64, send them a couple things in the mail before they turn 65. Even when they're 63, touch them a couple times, give them a call. Don't ask for anything, just give them a call and let them know that you're their guy. Then when they get to that turn 65 age, they already know you're their guy. You give them a $2 bill, you give them a lottery ticket, maybe you give them a $5 gift card. You spend $7 and times your money by 100. Plus you got somebody on the books for life, and that's the key. That right there. The reason they pay double on this one is because they know if you get somebody right when they turn 65, they're 4 times as likely to stay with that same carrier and that same customer, that same producer for their entirety of their life. So definitely try to keep that one on the books, okay? Definitely try to get that one if you can. Also, you might see somebody, if you're an AEP and you're walking around doing your policy reviews, doing life insurance appointments like we're supposed to be doing anyways, or just people that you're following up that you had earlier in the year in your book of business like you're supposed to be doing anyways. You go back and see them during AEP and give them boom, 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 the same thing. Because if they've been on a supplement since they first got in, they've never even been on a Medicare Advantage plan. So you're still gonna get the double up right here, plus you're gonna give them the hospital indemnity plan. And shame on you, shame on you, shame on you if you ever sell someone a Medicare Advantage without selling them a hospital indemnity plan. Do not let me catch you doing that if you're one of my agents, because you are screwing your client over, and that is not what you're supposed to be doing, okay? So basically it's pretty simple. If you've watched the videos up to now or taken your AEP or done any of your training, you should know how all this stuff works. So it should be pretty easy. You're just gonna describe to the client how it works, and once you really describe it to them, it's pretty, at least to me, depending on the client and depending on obviously the doctors in the network and things like that, what they should do. So I just kind of explain to them, I always say, look, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, you have two options when it comes to Medicare. Well, actually you have three options. Option one is only keep your red, white, and blue card. They cover 80%. You can pay the additional 20% out of your pocket, but that is a bad option because, like I said before, you have no max out of pocket, right? There's no max out of pocket. So if you're paying 20%, it's not gonna be that much when you go to the doctor. It's probably gonna be $15, $20 copay for going to your regular doctor. But as soon as you get like God forbid you have like a CAT scan MRI done, if you have, a heart attack or a stroke and you go to the hospital, or if you have, God forbid, cancer, right? You're stuck with 20% of the entirety amount of the whole deal. And that's way, way, way too much because there's no max out of pocket, right? So again, with a Medicare Advantage plan, you do have a max out of pocket of anywhere from, $3,000 to $6,000, maybe up to $10,000. But even $3,000 to $6,000 to $10,000 is a lot of dough to come up with. So that's why you're supposed to have your hospital indemnity plan. I'm getting ahead of myself. Here's how you're gonna explain to the client. All right, pay attention. Mrs. Jones, I usually sit down and I'm talking to them. You find out, you're doing your fact finding with your trifold, your My Wishes book, things like that, whatever it is. And then once you figure out what they have, another quick piece of advice: don't rush into it. Take your time. Let them ask a lot of questions, and then kind of they're gonna say, well, what do you think? Is the best plan? You're like, well, let me just kind of explain to you how the different plans work, and then maybe we can answer that question together because it is different for everybody. And of course, the main difference between a supplement and a Medicare Advantage plan, even with your Hip Buster, is that you have a network. Okay, so depending on where that client lives, if they're in the city, it doesn't matter usually because the city has a bunch of doctors. Out in the country, the networks are a lot smaller. So be careful on that. But there is a network. Also, when you have the Supp Buster, you have to realize that even though the hip is going to cover most of the hospital, most of the copays that you run into when you have MA, there are some copays it's not going to cover, like your primary care doctor and your specialist. But the simplest way to do this is just simply ask the client how often do they go to the doctor, right? Figure out what their actual needs are, all right? And then just add them up on the side what they're going to do, okay? So here's how I usually break it down. I usually say, okay, Miss Jones, you have two options. Actually, you have three, but the first one's a bad option. So we're not even going to talk about that because it's a bad option, right? You don't want that. The second option is and I always explain the supplement first. Always explain supplement first because it's just the way to do it. I promise you. You'll know in a minute, okay? So the first option, I always tell them, just like I'm in school, just like I talk to you guys right now, it's called Medicare Supplement. Okay? Now this option, I love this plan. It's a great plan. It's a Cadillac of coverages. Okay? When you have the Medicare Supplement, you have no networks, and you have no out-of-pocket costs except for your monthly premium. So you have your A and your B, which is $134 a month, $34.50. Then you also are going to have your RX plan, which is about $20 a month on average. It's usually between $15 and $36. Although I've seen it as high as $81 to even $115 a month. I think is the most expensive one I've seen. Most times they're going to be around $20, $25. And then you're going to have your actual Medicare Supplement, which is different companies. Usually Plan F, a Plan G, or Plan N. Plan F is a Cadillac, but as we know, that one's going away. So in 2020, that one's going to be completely gone. So most people aren't selling that one anymore. You got your Plan G, which has no copay, but it does have an annual deductible of $186, and that will go up as the years go on, but not a big deal, not very much. Or your Plan N, where you have up to $20 copay when you go to the doctor, a possible $50 copay if you go to the emergency room and don't go to the hospital. Is that me? And then you have your $186 deductible. Okay? But that's not the important part. The important part is what are you going to be paying every single month, Ms. Jones, right? So usually for a brand new T65 client, I would say most times the female is going to be $136, and if they're a married couple, he's probably going to be more like $160. And that's on the low end, that's when they're 65. God forbid they're 70 or they're 80, this would probably be much higher. 70, you're probably looking at a $160 and a $195, and then 80, you're probably looking at $225 and then $260, depending on if they're a female or a male. Okay? Fix that little arrow. Got it? Got it. All right. So this is the different prices they're going to have, depending on your carrier, depending on where you're at, right? Because it does go by zip code, what your price is. But that's what I usually see. So I usually just simply add it up for the client, because again, you don't want to have one thing in your mind. You want to use your time to consult the client, figure out what's best for them. So just write out and see what they got, and go over what they have. If you're helping the client, I guarantee you're going to make more money than if you're trying to sell them anything. That's the most important thing. Okay? So add up what they got. $134 plus $20 a month plus, we'll just say it's only one person and they're paying, we'll say $145 to keep it kind of in the middle. Okay? So that's 200, 300, around $300 right there a month. And they're like, so that's how much you pay. So Mrs. Jones, congratulations, you're turning 65. You're paying, with this option 2, you're paying $300 a month every month. Now, again, like I said before, most of our clients aren't made of money, so that might be kind of high for them depending on their income level. If you're out in the boonies and that's the only option they have, that's still, they got to pay it, right? But if you're in the city with somebody and it's one of your clients and they're on a middle to low income, they probably can't afford that, but maybe they can. Again, this is the best insurance you can possibly get. I always call this the Cadillac of insurances, because it covers pretty much everything, right? Now, the other option is to get an MA. Now, here is where most people mess up. They just say only about the MA, they don't say about the HIP, okay? So when I'm explaining to the client for the very first time, because again, we're talking about somebody most of the time who is just new to this whole concept, I usually explain to them in the short version before I get into the whole spiel. I say, you got 2 or 3 options. First option, you don't really want to do that because you have no max out of pocket. The second option is probably going to be close to $300 a month. The third option, which is the one my mom has, is more like $75 a month. And then once they have in their mind it's going to be $75 a month, you don't tell them $0, maybe tell them 75, they're going to understand the whole process a lot better, feel a lot more comfortable with paying that 75 compared to paying that 300, and they're not going to get that $0 plan, which is going to mess them up down the long road, okay? So the second option, I say, okay, you got another option over here. This is kind of a mess. Okay, you got your A and your B, which you're still going to pay your $134.50, unless they have QMB, okay, which is a very great thing to know about. I can go into that later about the QMB, but that's a really good one to know about. And then that's where they pay this for you. Okay, and if you have QMB, you're going to get a D-SNP anyways. So you're not gonna do this, but that's not the point. Okay, so your Part A and your Part B, you're gonna have your Part C, which is Part A plus Part B plus Part D, all on one card, right? All on one card, Part C. And then you're also gonna wanna have your hospital plan. And so I explain to them, your last gonna be $134, and this one's gonna be $0. It might be 37 or more or less, depending. Usually an HMO is usually going to be 0, and a PPO is usually going to have a little bit of a cost. But of course, if they have the PPO, then we know that they can have more network flexibility. So if you have a problem with the network, then you can always give them a PPO, but not always, if there's a PPO in their area, that will kind of solve some of those problems for you, so you don't have to worry about getting away from the Cadillac and going into a more affordable option. And then I say you're gonna have a hospital indemnity plan that's gonna kind of fill the gaps, and that one's probably gonna be about $75 a piece. And then I add it up, and I tell them straight up and say, look, this plan is a Cadillac of insurance, it's an amazing plan, but it's gonna cost you the $300 a month. So no matter how many times you go to the doctor, you're gonna pay $300 a month. So times that by 12 is, what is that, 6? What is that? 12 times 6. So you're paying $3,600 a month, whether you go to the doctor or not, period. That's how much you're paying every single month. Now let's see if you do this option, how much are you gonna pay a month, Mrs. Jones? You're gonna pay your $134, you're gonna pay your 0, and you're gonna pay your $175, which is 200 times 12 is for 2,400. But you're not done yet. You still need to add in their copays. So again, they're usually going to have a $10 copay when they go to their primary care. Could be more, could be less depending on the plan. They're probably going to have a $45 copay if they go to a specialist. So here's where it takes you being really not doing what's best for you, Jason, Kyle, or you, Joe Schmo agent, but doing what's actually best for the client. And you got to kind of compare, because if they're at $136 a month and they go to the doctor and they have a specialist they go see a bunch of times in a year, they probably should be on the supplement. Okay? But if they're paying, $225 a month and they don't even have any specialists, they only go to their primary care doctor once or twice a year, then they should definitely be on this side of the board. So you need to do what's best for your client, again, for the umpteenth time, but just simply do some math and see what is going on here. So I'll add up and I'll say, well, how many times a year do you go to the doctor? Oh, you probably go, 2 times a year for your primary care, but let's say you have a bad year and you go 5 times that year. So we'll say 5 times 10 is 50, plus $50. And then what about a specialist? Do you have a specialist? Yeah, I have diabetes and I go see my specialist once every 3 months. So times 4, 45 times 4 is, what is that, 100 minus 5, 10, 15, 20, so $80? That's not right. $160?
Oh yeah, 160.
210. So 210 plus 240, and this is amazing, assuming you go to the doctor a whole bunch of times, you're going to be paying $2,610 for the whole year instead of the $3,600. So you're saving $1,000 a year, even though you got all these different plans and you're going to the doctor a couple times. So most of the time, more often than not, I found, at least, again, depending on the client, where they are located, depending on the network, this is going to be a cheaper plan. Now here's the deal. When you have a HIP plan and a Supp plan, or excuse me, a HIP plan and your Medicare Advantage plan, you kind of got to do a lot more navigating. So you got to like fill out the paperwork, right? You got to get referrals if you have an HMO, or you have to make a claim. If you go to the hospital, then you have to make a claim to the HIP plan. So some people just don't like dealing with it. But if you're trying to save money, then that's the better way to go. That's the better way to go. And to be honest, I do these all the time. And that's pretty conservative. That is pretty conservative when you really add it up. And a lot of times when I add it up, I'll leave the A and B out of it. So let's do the math one more time, just so we kind of know what we're doing here. Just to look it up, blow through this real quick. I know you're getting tired of watching me, but you're going to see this one more time. So you got 2 options, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Now, God forbid it's a husband and wife. If someone do a husband and wife and say they're 70, okay? So, and I won't do the A and the B, just because obviously the math negates itself out. So you don't want to do too much if you can not confuse the client, okay? So we're going to get you your drug plan. We'll say that's $25 a month. For your drug plan times 2 equals $50 a month. Which times that by 12 is $600. So $600 a year. And then let's say they're 70 years old and they're in it. That's why I call it the Supp Buster, because this is, if somebody already has a Supp and you're an AEP, it's that time, baby. And also the good thing is they don't have to qualify. So it's really good if they are sick. If they're sick and they can't get out of their supplement plan, and you can give them one of these, it's gonna be huge. I've seen supplements $500-600 a month. But let's say dad's supplement is $250 and mom's is $220, which is a pretty common price, and actually a pretty good price, to be honest. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 22, 470 times 12. Oh man, this is gonna be a tough quick math, isn't it? See how my homeschool math is. 4, 8, 9, 0, 47. 4, 6, 1, 5, 0. So they're paying $5,640 a month. That was pretty good. You have to admit that was pretty good. Plus their $600 a year for their RX plan. So now they're paying a total of $6,240 a year for husband and wife. Now let's see how much they'd be paying on a hospital indemnity plan, right? Let's say you give them the HMO, which is 0, or even give them the PPO for $37 a month. We'll make it 35 just for my little brain here. Plus 35 equals 70 times 12 equals, shoot, 14, 7, 8, $840 a year. And then they have a hospital indemnity plan each, paying $75 each, which is a pretty good hospital indemnity plan. If they're paying $75 a month, that's a pretty good plan. So that's 150 times 12. It's 10, 2, 1, right, 2, 3, and then 15 is 5, 6, 7, 8. So they're paying $1,800 a year plus a 40. Is 1, 2, 6, 40. Wow, that's a huge difference. And I don't care how many times you're going to the doctor, there's no way you're spending that much in a difference because their max out of pocket is probably only $3,000. Know your products, people. You can save with these seniors a lot of money if you know what you're doing. So study your stuff, watch these videos, and learn your stuff. See you at the top.